What's up, YouTube? This episode I'm going to continue on with that WRX and finish up the front sway bar links and bushings. The last video started getting a little bit too long editing wise, and I just decided to make it into a second video. And then he's got some rattly kind of clunky noises in the front, and it has OEM bushings and links, so I'm going to put on a new set of bushings and links in the front, and he may still have a bit of a click out of a ball joint or something, so I'll have to road test the car after I'm done and see how much it's improved. So the sway bar link and bushing can be a real pain in the ass on these cars. They can be quite problematic with rust, corrosion. The bolts that are coming down out of this sway bar bushing hanger kind of deal right here, they really tend to seize and possibly break off, and then you're kind of into a real scenario. But I'll show you what you can basically try and do to get this stuff apart without too much effort or having to cut stuff. So first I'll just put a wrench on that one and double wrench it, and it will start to turn. The nut is loosening, but now you can see the inner part in there is now starting to turn with the nut. And unfortunately, these factory ones don't have, they're not slotted for a wrench to actually go on there and hold it. So this is where you bust out your half decent set of vice grips, and you're going to try and jam them in between the socket end and the actual sway bar. It may not be able to tighten right down on the bolt, but as you squeeze, the jaws will kind of start to separate everything, and you'll get a little deeper in every time. And if you're on the plastic collar that's, or the plastic bushing, sorry, that's on the inside of here, you could actually crack it and break it, and the whole socket will just pop right off. But it seems like I got it held pretty good there now. A good penetrating fluid can really assist you in this. And if the vice grips loosen off or start to spin, like they just did, just loosen them off, give the handle a couple more cranks, and then just continue trying to get it off. If links don't have that spot for the wrench to actually hold the inner part of it, they'll usually be junk by the time you're done. So plan on replacing them if you got to get them apart. The reason I'm using the wrench is I can keep because I can't really see what's happening in here, but I can keep the tip of my finger on the end of the bolt, and I can tell if it starts to spin with the nut. And there's one end. You can see the bar fell down because I do have the other side apart already. Should be able to get a socket on this end because it's nice and open, and we can happen to fit the gun right up in here. So give it a couple hits just to try and loosen it up. And there's our link. This one we didn't actually destroy too bad. But the point of this is to get rid of some strange noises. So this rear bolt comes down through, and you can actually get a socket onto it. But because of how tight the space is in here, we're not going to be able to spin it right out with the ratchet, because the ratchet's going to try and bottom out on this subframe. So literally we can only loosen it a few turns. And yes, it is just coming free with the small ratchet. And as long as I can get that back out and it's loosened up slightly, I've already taken down the shield. There's 3 bolts holding it in the front, and then 2 outer plastic push pins that hold it up into place. And it's best to get it out of the way so we can work more towards the front of the car to try and get the nut to loosen off the front. I'm going to try and give you guys a decent enough view of this nut in here. And you can see how tight it actually is to get a wrench in. The other side's a little tighter because of this. The WRX, because of the WRX being a turbo, the exhaust manifold shield is a lot closer on the other side, and it's a lot tighter to work with. And likewise on this one, you can only spin it out so far, and then your wrench will get caught in there, so you actually have to start using the open end of the wrench. Once you get the nut off and you loosen this rear bolt a little bit more, you should be able to just get that bracket down enough. So with quite a bit of force, I managed to finally get that out. The new one going in, I hope it's a little easier. I'm going to put a little bit of lube on the inside of the bushing. Now I just got to tighten this back into place and install the link. The new sway links, very high quality. They come with the grease nipples. These replacement links don't have the slot for the wrench on the inside to tighten, but they leave you the Allen bit head on the inside. So you want to slip your wrench on. I get a ratcheting wrench here. Just hold the center of the bolt with the Allen key, or a hex bit will work just as good. I just want to get a shot of grease into each joint. So I just finished road testing that car, and what a huge difference. The front links and bushings were certainly the noise in the front end, because you'd go over any bump and it would just, you'd hear a clunk in the front. And I didn't really find play in the links, and the bushings didn't really have a lot of gap between the bar and the bushing. But I mean, that's all it took. Now that they're in there, that car is as quiet as can be. You can kind of whip it around a little bit and hear absolutely no noise. So I do have another job for that lined up for that car. I'm going to end up doing the timing belt and water pump, and just maybe even a small tune-up. I do have an air filter and fuel filter to put into it, and I've also got the valve cover gaskets to go in, and he's given me the go-ahead to do everything. So I would expect next weekend I'll probably get that back in to do all that stuff. The sway bar bushings are certainly a bit of a pain in the ass to get out and back in, but everything else is fairly straightforward. The sway bar links can always give you trouble depending on the vehicle. Sometimes you can get one end of them loose and then actually grab the link and pop the socket on the other end, kind of throw a link away, and then on the ball of the bolt going through, you can get your vice grips to hold onto it there. Sometimes people got to whip out the cutoff wheel and try and cut the stud out of there, because it won't come out, and they end up rounding the nut. Now they don't make circular wrenches, okay? So you got to think of all this stuff before it happens. To the point, if you do have to cut with the cutoff wheel, just try not to cut the sway bar, because I've seen that. So yeah, the PC in the garage has been fucking around with me. It won't restart today for some reason. It just keeps on flagging blue screen of death at me, and I'm tired of seeing it. So I restarted a few times, finally got myself into BIOS, and it looks like I've had a stick of RAM fail. Yay! So I decided I would take the cover off the case and take this second stick of RAM and swap it into the first slot, and the machine's fired up no problem. It actually fired up faster than it usually does, so obviously that first stick was on its way out for a while. I just found a pair of dual channel on eBay, used for under $10, so I just bid on them, and the auction's up in an hour, so I'll probably end up getting those and throwing those in. This PC is just this little slimline deal. A friend gave that to me years ago, and it's been an awesome shop computer. Just I don't need a lot of processing power with it or RAM, but for what it does, it's an awesome little machine, and I'm glad I have it. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. Comments and questions further down below, and I'll see you in the next one.